What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today the wait is finally over. We're going to be jumping into set 2, looking at the Vairina archetype for Dragon Empire. In today's profile, we're going to be going over some different matchups and how they play out for this deck, some ideas, and just general thought process between some of the tech cards that I am running in this. I think this is an awesome deck, definitely like in the top 3-4 decks of the meta right now. And honestly, I love the aesthetic. If you're a Dragon Empire fan like me, I don't think we're disappointed at all with this set. So super excited to bring this to you guys. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Alright, and before we hop into it, I just wanted to thank everybody so far who has subscribed. We're at over 500 subs. I really cannot believe it. Thank you guys so much. If you are new to the channel, learn anything today, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, possibly leaving a like on the video. But without further ado, let's hop right into the ride line. So the ride line is still staying the same. If you've seen my original video, we're going to go over the skills there. I'm going to kind of just briefly go over this, as I think everybody kind of knows this is the ride line. So we're starting off with the Egg, not the Trickstar, the Reno. We're going to go into the Ryu, obviously, as our grade 2, and then our Nirvana. So really nothing changing here. This is the only option for the deck, absolutely no variance. You can put a Trickstar if you really wanted to, but I do not believe that is the ideal thing. You are missing out on a draw potentially if you go second, which is so huge. Just to have like a guaranteed Trickstar that you could potentially draw into later is just not worth it. So this is the ride line, definitely stick with that. And again, if you want the breakdown of the skills, go check out my original video for the Nirvana profile. But let's hop right into the main deck. We are going to start off with 3 of our Divine Dragon Nirvana. So again, nothing really changing here. This just pretty much is the best option for you. You want to re-ride. Re-riding in this deck, just making sure that you get that Persona ride off, is that 10k to the front row, an extra draw. Really nice overall. Obviously, we get to discard a card from our hand, and we can choose a grade 0 from our drop, call it to Rearguard Circle to get that Trickstar back and really start some of our plays. And of course, when it attacks, we get the Counterblast 1, and this unit and all of the units with Overdress ability, they get 10k until the end of turn. So just a quick heads up, this does not include Trickstar. Trickstar has the ability to get Overdress upon, but he does not have the Overdress skill. So if you have a Trickstar, you know, you're putting that 10k, it's not a 15k base, unfortunately, which makes a couple other cards in this deck kind of very necessary to really roll some of your plays. So yeah, let's hop right along into the next grade 3. Now this is a huge point of contention for myself. I was considered cutting this all together, and like for a while I did when I was testing. I just really think this is a bait a lot of times. You know, you're wasting another card from hand just to get a little, you know, buffed up body onto a rear guard and the potential to restand, whereas there's other cards that definitely guarantee a multi-attack. But I find at the same time this is necessary for a little bit later in the game, just like to give yourself another option for a line of play. Also against Prison, this is also good and bad. Prison's a really like relevant deck in the meta right now, and they have a grade 2 that essentially allows them to PG you, and this is a grade 3, and that PG only works on grade 2 or lower, so it could really put that potential pressure on them there. Obviously just the restand inherently is like enough pressure where it's decent if you build this guy up big enough, but overall this is just it's an okay card, so I'm gonna drop it down to 2. I'm liking it at this ratio right now. Could potentially cut it out altogether if you really want to go that route, but I right now am just running it at that 2 of. So yeah, going right into the grade 2. Obviously we're going to start off with the new guy. We're going to be looking at Vairina Urger. So its skill, Vairina Urger, is that it has the Overdress ability, so it will get that 10k if you know, you pop your Divine Dragon off on that. Its skill, auto in hand at the end of the battle that our Trickstar attack to Vanguard. If your Vanguard is the Divine Dragon Nirvana, we get to Soul Blast 2 and then call this card on top of a Trickstar as stand and counter charge 1. Its second skill continues on Rearguard Circle. If it's in the Overdress state, this guy gets an additional 10k plus a 10k shield. So super big for like just defensive, being a little bit bulkier, something that we didn't have before. A lot of times, you know, you might be thinking, oh, why would I ever want to guard with this? You know, this is one of my Overdress things. It's going to get that 10k. It's going to get an additional 10k for my Vanguard. A lot of people are going to be picking off your rear guards anyway with like Eden, things like that. Like, you might as well just guard with this and fall on your own sword in that regard, and at least be able to recur some of the, you know, like the Trickstar possibly from your drop zone. So just getting you that extra bulk, that 15k shield, is like really big in the deck. On top of that, this guy makes the same numbers as the regular Vairina, so you know, 10k in the Overdress state, 10k plus with the Nirvana, and as well as, you know, if you Persona Ride, that's another 10k, so it could become a 40k base, just making this like a really sweet like second attack, which is really, really nice. So a little bit of guaranteed multi-attack, very, very good. Also, the counter charge is big. This allows us to use cards that we previously didn't really have room for, just kind of like stopped us in the middle of the deck. I'll show you my choices a little bit later and some cards that you can swap in if you don't like what I am currently running, but yeah, cool. So this is the first grade 3 actually that we're going, first grade 2 that we're going over. Great card. I'm super happy they printed something like this for Dragon Empire and Nirvana. Moving right along, we still have our original card from the set 1. This is going to be Vairina Arcs. Really no way of getting around it. This is just an amazing card. Whoops, the camera's shaking a little. Sorry about that. An amazing card. I mean, a counterblast for drawing 2 cards and a +5 on itself. Just amazing, really. So, you know, it's not the most powerful card in terms of like its numbers, but again, it is in the overdress state. Give itself that +5. Could be really nice with a you know, the Nirvana, and as well as like the Nirvana's 10k, as well as the Persona Ride. You know, you can make a 25k, 35k unit pretty easily for just a counterblast, so I think that's pretty sweet. Also, let's say you are swinging with your Vanguard first, and this is, you know, on rearguard circle, you're on grade 2, you're on your grade 2 turn. If you want to do a greedy play, you swing with your Vanguard first for that 10k, 12k, whatever it is, and then, you know, this is 15k, so let's say they're on grade 1, they hit a trigger, they're going to be at 20k, you hit a trigger as well, that you're going to make this guy basically a 25k if they didn't guard that first one, if they didn't make it a 1 to pass. So a good player will kind of make it a 1 to pass against your grade 2 Vanguard, but you know, if you want to go for that super greedy play, that is definitely an option, because you're going to be at 25k if you drive check a trigger here, so just really gets the ball rolling a little bit early in the game. So just a great card, hand advantage, that little extra pressure, really, really nice. And I think a good player too will know sometimes like, hey, I might have like very powerful cards in my hand, but arcs with gaining just a bit more power, you know, I'm not ready for my blowout like absolute win turn, my final turn. Arcs is sometimes the right play to go into just to draw a little bit more and just to get more in your hand. So yeah, and of course we are still running 3 of our Vairinas. I think 3 is the correct number now. You definitely don't need it at 4 because there's just so many other things you want to be running in the deck now. I think with Vairina, this obviously allows us to Soul Blast 2 and choose an opponent's rearguard and retire it. Gets that inherent 10k if it's in the overdress state when it attacks the Vanguard, so makes those really nice numbers. Just overall decently free. Like, you don't have to do the Soul Blast 2 to retire a rearguard, but has that little control option in there for us if we so choose. So just that base 10k, getting it. Like, my first profile, I said this wasn't a great card. I was so behind there. I just didn't realize how good this really was and how free it was. So I think 3 is the right ratio because we are searching one out with the ride line, so you're guaranteed at least 1 in the hand. And you know, it's not bad if you want to discard it. I think this is definitely a target for that, but overall I'm very happy with that ratio. I think that is definitely correct at a 3 of. Now moving right along into the grade 1s, I guess we're gonna just get this guy out of the way real quick. Obviously we are running 4 of the perfect guards, so you need to perfect guard. You know, columns are big. Bastion, Bruce is making insane numbers now. Even this deck, really in the counter, in the mirror match, like you need to be having a PG in hand just to card like possibly a Valiente attack, possibly, you know, an Urger that comes on the field, spams for 40k. Like that is a big number. So I think PGs definitely are necessary. If you can't afford these, you have the, you know, the trial deck ones as well. So that is definitely an option. Moving right along, we are going to go into our next grade 1. This is an awesome card. This is really, I think, like the best double rare. One of the best double rares, at least. I need to really think about that before I make that statement, but definitely the best double rare for this clan. This is Stealth Dragon Togashirashi. So this guy's skill auto, when this card is discarded from hand during your turn, you may put this card into your soul. So this is huge for us. We can use so much soul between the Vairina, between the new Elgar too. Like, we're using a ton of soul here. Like 2 on this guy, 2 on our Vairina. Like you can see, this deck just runs through it, and I think this really enables us to, you know, get out of some of those tight spots where, oh man, I would have it this turn if I can only had another soul, or, you know, there's been situations like that. I've literally seen it playing out where, like, if we didn't have this card, we would basically have just not won the game. And I know a lot of people are big on the new, oh god, not the new one, but the Tenchestead from set 1, I'll go over that in a little bit too, and some cards that you can swap out, but I think this is just faster. This is more direct, mainline. I think this gets you to your goal a little bit quicker, and you know, we do have that counter charger now in Urger, but at the same time, sometimes you just like don't have like a spare like 2 counterblasts, like maybe the timing, whatever the chain was, like the the Tenchestead is just not as effective in my opinion, and I'm choosing to run this guy over Tenchestead. I'm not combining the two personally, so definitely not a wrong option to go with it, but I say try this guy out and you'll see your games. They're just a lot faster, better free flowing. This really alleviates the need to discard, some of the decent cards in your hand for your ride line, because, you are getting that straight into Soul, which is really, really nice. Moving right along, we are going to go into our final grade 1 in the deck. This is going to be Blaze Maiden Aruna. So this is an awesome card, really, really necessary for the deck in my opinion. Like, you definitely need to be running this. I think 3 is the right ratio. 4, you might see it a little bit too much. 2, just not enough. I think 3 is that sweet spot. This guy's skill continues on rearguard circle during the battle. This boosted to grade 0. This guy gets an additional 5k. So this makes it so that your, what was it? The Trickstar is a more than a 5k to guard, which is really nice. So you're going to be basically boosting your Trickstar, going into that Elgar play or Urger play, whatever it's called. Essentially, this makes it so that your opponent can't just drop a 5k shield, just can't intercept, and then boom, my Trickstar thing is like, oh wow, well, it wasn't that impactful. It was a multi-attack, but kind of weak. So you're hoping to drop something, little shield, from your opponent's hand. So overall, really, really nice. Again, making that 18k column, you're not making like a 28 because Trickstar does not get the 5k inherently from the ability of Nirvana. So this is a really necessary card. If you do booster the regular AK, like, yeah, it could hit, but why not make it that little more? You're going to be boosting anyway. Like, definitely run this card. It's a really, really good card for a common, which is really surprising. Moving right along then into our grade 0. So of course, no surprise here. This is a Vairina deck, so we are running 4 of Trickstar. So again, I was lucky enough to pull that DSR, so glad to be able to showcase it on camera. Very, very lucky. I just love that card. I love that art. I'm personally really happy with the way they designed that one compared to some of the other ones. But yeah, 4 of these in the deck. I don't think 3 is right. I don't think 2, what obviously is not right. I think that you need this at 4. This is the main starter of your plays. Everything kind of revolves around this card and just the ability to be able to recur it. So the more you have of them, I feel like you definitely can't go wrong. And it's really nice too because it can't be chosen by opponent's effects. So sometimes I see people kind of like leave it there for prisons, do like stuff like that. So could be an option, whatever you really feel. Cool, so that is it for the main deck. We are going to move right along into the triggers now. So obviously we're starting off with one of the over trigger. This is going to be how do you say it? Dragveta? Yeah, that's how to say it. Just restanding your Vanguard is nice. We have nothing better at the moment right now. I know this feels a little, centric towards something else, but overall, I think that's definitely a decent option. I'm running 4 of the new fronts, so definitely 4. So the whole idea behind running the draw triggers previously was that, you discard a lot in this deck. You discard a card from your hand to get that grade 0 out from the drop with Nirvana, and it just, you also ride into Valiente, but we're not running as many Valiente. I don't think that's the main play anymore. I think the 20k base of this shield is like huge. Just in playtesting, like, it feels so much better having that, just like a 1 card, 2 to pass kind of deal. Like, it's just so much better than it was previously. So I think this alleviates you from having to have, 2 cards that the draw might have got you previously to just bumping it down to 1. Plus the inherent pressure of a front is just awesome in this deck. So really, really like that. And we are moving along then. We're going to go into 4 of our crit triggers, 7 total. 7 total. Crit's still great. You need to put that pressure on. You can close out games with them, double crit for the win, obviously, whatever the case may be. It's just obviously a great kind of trigger to run. And then we are running 4 of our heal triggers. So, nothing really to say there. Heal triggers, heal out, good shield value. It is what it is. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching so far. Let's hop into a test hand. I'll show you guys how the deck is kind of played out, as well as just some other options that you can put into this and make this, your version of your deck, depending on what you really like. Alright, before we start that test hand, I'm just going to go into some other options we can do in this deck instead of the Valiente, because I know a lot of people have an issue with this card and just don't really see the value in it overall, which, I'm not completely sold on that, but at the same time, I understand where that school of thought is coming from. So just to quickly run through some different options, you can bump out the Valiente, maybe swap out one of the Tagachirashi, whatever the heck the soul charging guy when discarded is. You can also run Tenchestead. So this is the card coming out of set 1. You counterblast 1, retire this unit, choose one of your Vanguards, and you search your deck for up to 1 card with the same name as that card, and then put it into our hand and shuffle our deck. So just ensuring that ride chain, making sure that your Trickstar is able to at least hit if you don't have that backup grade 1, kind of making it boost and for that nicer number overall, because without her, it just feels a little funny.
So yeah, overall, this is a card that you can swap out, maybe for that 2 of, maybe a 3 of, bump down one of the Tagashi Rashi, or whatever his name was. Another card that you can still play in here if you want to go a little bit more defensive, if you find that your games, whatever your playstyle is, or you're just like not lasting as long as you think you should, you can kind of insulate your deck a bit with this order card as well, which gives your unit a 15k until the end of battle. And just a heads up too, this is effective against Overlord, because Overlord will be swinging at your rear guards. Obviously you can't guard with them, but this isn't actually guarding. An order card means that you can place this order and still give your unit that additional 15k, so you can block that Overlord attack, so it makes it nice for that. On top of that, yeah, just that extra 15k shield is nice. I think that with the like 20k front, like there's certain matchups where this would be nice, but most matchups with that 20k front are just really in the bag as is. Like, it's not a huge deal anymore. Don't really need that as much as we used to, but definitely still an option. And then you can maybe play around with this card. This is Blaze Fist Monk Damari, I'm sorry. His skill is at the end of battle that it's act. We get to counterblast one, soul blast one, and choose one of our opponent's front row rear guards, retire, and if our Vanguard is the Divine Dragon Nirvana, we get to choose up to one grade 0 card from our drop and call it to rear guard circle. So this is decent. It's just like a little costly, and sometimes, like, you know, if you're trying to pull off the Nirvana, maybe a Valiente. I don't think Valiente and him fit in the same deck. Maybe tech him in like a 1 of if you don't want to run the Valiente. Probably would avoid 2. He's just pretty costly with that Soul Blast as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much correct. And with Tenchus, that I forgot to mention too, the Urger does countercharge now, so it's a lot easier to play this than it previously was. I previously think that you essentially needed 3 counterblasts open to include him in the last deck, which I just did not think was possible. So yeah. Also moving into our last option, I know some people were playing this previously. It kind of dropped out of a lot of lists, but again, you can run her for a little early pressure. This is the, what was this, Blaze Maiden Reno, coming out of the ride line. So the whole idea is you can call this, if you want second, you call this down on your first grade 1 turn, where you're going to attack your opponent, and it swings for 10k. On your second turn, like when you're in grade 2 and, you know, attacking them, this then gets an additional 2k, so like it's still going to hit your opponent's Vanguard, just making it like a 1 card for essentially 2 turns worth of attacks, which is pretty decent overall. Not too bad, but yeah, those are some different options you can play instead of including the Valiente in your deck. But if you want to stick to my build, totally do that. That's obviously what I'm doing. So yeah, just wanted to give those. And then speaking about some of our matchups here, like with Prison's a tough matchup for us. We have some like ins and outs and like weird kind of interactions. Obviously, Trickstar says that we are not able to target that, so it avoids the Prison, but in general, if it's in the front row, like obviously it's going to get swung into. It's pretty weak in that regard. Also, Prison now has a card that blocks all of your grade 2 attacks, so if you're going like the grade 2 route with Urger and everything, they could potentially PG that out, which really sucks. So that's where I feel like Valiente overdressing on top of it, if you have, you know, both of those, maybe a card over this one, like it can't guard and PG that grade 3 attack. It's only 2 and below, so they have to have like a natural, you know, PG in hand or the regular shield, whatever the case may be. Bastion is good if you're able to blitz them down. If you can get like a fast attack, you know, just really put the pressure on. I think that you can kind of come out ahead with this deck, not at the expense of your hand sometimes, but if you feel like you have it, like go for it. I feel like once they get blitzed down, it's tough for them to come back. They just don't have a lot to guard in general. The 20k shield helps that deck, and I still think it probably is like the most consistently good deck in the format. Like, it's probably the second best, but will kind of perform as the first best, just because I guess some people aren't like great at playing Bruce, whatever the case may be. But I think this deck has an honestly decent chance now against Bastion, as opposed to before it was a little bit oppressive. Against Bruce, it's really tough. If they get off 2 overdrive turns, I feel like it's really tough. No amount of like wily kind of plays that you know, the multi-attacks that you get off will really seal the deal. If you get a double Urger turn off, it's actually pretty difficult, but I've seen Bruce get some like crazy hands now just in playtests, and actually in tournament, the only reason I beat our fellow teammate who actually was playing Bruce in tournament this week was because he decked out. So shouts out to you, AJ. Sorry about that, but yeah, really an odd matchup overall. I think for Zorga, you know, just play your plan. There's really nothing crazy that you have to change for your playstyle with that. What else? What other big matchups am I kind of afraid of? Yeah, I really think it's Prison, Bruce, and what was it? Bastion there. So Bastion, what did I say? Prison, Bastion, yeah, Boost. Those are the main three. Everything else, you know, obviously still respect every deck in the format. Especially, honestly, this is a bad matchup against Eugene, with Eugene popping our stuff, but overall you should kind of win that out just off of raw power and just multi-attack now. So yeah, those are kind of some different breakdowns of matchups. I'm sure we're going to post some content with some playtesting videos. I know we didn't do a ton for set 1, but I think timing-wise, our schedules didn't really match up as much as it did in the past, but now we are on a little bit more of a set schedule, so glad about that. I'm definitely looking forward to posting some of the matches that we have. So yeah, let's hop into a test hand, and I'll show you guys how this deck kind of plays out. Alright, let's get shuffling up over here and get started on our test hand. Overall, I think this is like a really decent deck. I really like the overall playstyle, just like the ability to multi-attack kind of harkens back to a little bit of that, like, you know, Narukami, hey, call from hands, you know, bind, whatever it is. So I really do like that. I think that it can pretty much stand toe-to-toe with any deck in the meta. And, you know, if you are a good player with this deck, you know, you might be able to take games off absolutely anybody. Like, I'm not saying this deck is better than Bruce, I'm not saying that it's better necessarily than Bastion, but, you know, if this is your playstyle, go for it. Don't let anybody else tell you, you know, oh, you can't play because you don't have the absolute best deck in format. 100% not true. So I'm actually going to put my triggers back. I'm going to hold both of these in my hands. I might be able to keep one of those triggers just for gameplay testing here. I just want to show, okay, yeah. So I'm glad I did that because I kind of do get a decent amount of shield in my hand now, so not too terrible. Let us shuffle up one more time, and we're going to pretend we go first like we do in all of our test hand videos. So let's get started here. We're going to stand and draw for turn. And then we are going to discard. I'm actually going to discard the 15k shield. It is a little bit early in the game. Actually, I'm going to put, yeah, whatever, I'll just do that there. Alright, we are then going to ride into our grade 1. Let's see if I can drop that. There we go. Pass it over to our opponent, take damage for their turn. Boom, crit trigger, shuts off everything of theirs, which is nice. Going to stand and draw. Cool, so we do have another Trickstar in hand. What do I want to discard here? I think I actually do want to discard the Trickstar just because we can recur it a little bit later. We are going to then, I'm going to rarity swap that. We are then going to, yep, I'm just going to do 1 and 2. Oops. There we go. We're just going to go into our arcs play here, keep it pretty easy. Oh, whoops, what did I discard? I discarded the, yeah, thing. Whoops, I forgot to ride over here. Then I search out the Trickstar, yep. Alright. We are then going to go into the arcs. We are going to counterblast 1. We are going to draw 2, and that gets an additional +5. And this is what I was kind of talking about earlier with like the greedy play. So I'm going to swing here for 10, or 12 actually. And then if I hit it, if they hit a trigger, if I hit a trigger, you know, if that was a trigger, I put it on there. This becomes a 25k. So even though they let it through, if they let it through, didn't make it a 1 to pass, they would be at 20. I would be at 25. Still making them dump something from hand. And we do actually get another Trickstar in hand. So that actually worked out pretty well. Swing 15, pass over. Let's take 2 damage. 1. Ooh, the over trigger. Never mind. We're not going to take 2 damage. So I'm going to heal this out over here. Let's bind that underneath. Going to draw a card. And I guess I'm going to do 100 million over here. Let's say we do take 1 damage. I do want 1 open counterblast for my turn here. So I'm going to now stand and draw. There we go. What do I want to discard? We have a lot of options. I'm actually going to discard the Vairina just because we can go get one right now. So I'm going to then Soul Blast 1 out. I'm then going to search a Vairina from my deck and add it back to my hand. So not a bad target to dump like I was mentioning before. We don't have that grade 1 in hand, unfortunately. I don't think the booster, right? Nah, we don't. So I don't think I'm going to go into an Elgar play. I'll just hold this in my hand. Maybe like next turn we'll go into it. But let us call down the Trickstar. Do I want to do that? Yeah, why not? Let's call down the Trickstar. Let us then go into, I'm just going to go into a Vairina play here. I don't think it's correct to go into the Valiente necessarily, just because it's dumping a little bit too much from hand. Overall, I think that we do need to hit, like, one of the columns need to be nice numbers. So if I wanted to go the numbers game and get more cards in hand, I would go with him. But I just want to get, like, nice pressure on my opponent with this turn. So I am going to swing first with the Divine Dragon. I'm going to counterblast 1. Give everybody that plus 10k. Plus I only had 1 counterblast open, so you need at least 2 open to make this play too. I'm gonna go 1, crit trigger, let's put it here. 2, alright, cool. Actually I'm gonna go power crit there, yeah. Alright, swing. This is going to be, what is that, 20, 30. This is going to be 30 also, 2 crit. All right, we're going to pass it over to our opponent. I'm going to hold off on the Soul Blast 2 play just because I know we don't have Tagashi Rashi in our hand and our Soul. We are going to pretty much be able to re-ride, but I think we would still be 1 short there. So pass it over. Let's take 1 damage. All right, so that is a heal trigger. Let's say we do heal out 1. Makes it a little bit easier this turn. Let's see, do I have anything else? What else do I have in my... Yeah, let's do that. Grade 0. Going to heal that out. We're going to take 1 more damage. All right, cool. And let's say we drop a... a 15k guard there. All right, do 1 more maybe. No, I don't really have another thing. Yeah, we just took 2. That's fine. Stand and draw. Oops. All right, perfect. So now, let's say one of these went away. Like, let's say this guy went away last turn. They attacked into it. I am now going to discard something from my hand. So I have all 3 of my Persona rides. I'm going to get that Trickstar back here. And I am actually going to go into my Valiente on this column right here just to buff it up, because this is too vanilla, this thing right here. Again, you have to know the state of the game. Like, if you need more cards in hand, go into this. Don't be afraid to get that Counterblast to draw 2. Definitely not a bad... Oh, I'm sorry, did I Persona Ride? No, I did not. So let's do that first, actually. Persona Ride, draw off that, perfect. And then, yeah, let's say I discarded that instead, so this goes into Soul instead of my Divine Dragon right there. But I am going to go into the Elgar play here. I don't have the grade 1 booster, but that's okay, because I did Persona Ride here. So let's open up. Let's swing here 15 first, because we're Persona Riding. We are then going to skill Soul Blast 2. I'm going to ride the Urger from my hand onto my Trickstar, overdress it by Soul Blasting 2. 1, 2. And again, Tagashi Rashi just makes it a little bit easier. If I wanted to go into that play last turn, potentially could have as well. So this gets an extra 10k, and it's about to get an extra 10k from here. And we do countercharge 1, actually. Soul Blast 2, yeah, whoops, Trickstar, and countercharge 1, yep. So plenty of counterblast to go around this turn. I'm going to counterblast 1 though, so I'm going to flip that right back. I am then going to give plus 10k to all the overdress guys. Let's go crit. Let's go all effects here, and then 2. Ooh, front trigger, really, really nice. Wow, so that is huge. Let's work the numbers here. So this is going to be 10 off the Persona. So that's 20, 10 from itself, that's 30, 10 from his skill, which is 40, plus a front trigger. So this is a 50k swing right here, which is really, really nice. And this is going to be 23 from itself, 10k from the Persona, which is 33, 10k from the skill, which is 43, 53 with the front, 63 with a crit over here. Let's say, it has to hit unless they PG'd or something, whatever the case is. Just for argument's sake, I'm going to say they didn't. Restand it, swing again, and I mean, that's a pretty brutal swing overall. And, they might have survived that turn. So let's just play out 1 more, because I have a decent hand to play out 1 more, and I'll show you guys how it kind of works. So yeah, we're going to pass it over. Let's take 1 more damage. Oh, wow, we're getting so lucky. We're healed out there, let's say. Let's take another damage, boom. Okay, we are now going to start to heal from hand, boom. Guard from hand, boom. All right, and that shuts off the rest of their turn. We are now going to, I'm going to say I guarded with something too with that, because that gets an additional 10k with the shield. I'm going to stand and draw. I am then going to Persona Ride. I'm going to draw off of the Persona Ride. Wow, look at that. I don't even have to recur it from my drop. I'm going to go straight into him. Then I am going to actually call this down. So this is a good little play. This is a decent thing. So we don't have another Urger in hand, but yeah, we don't have an Urger in hand. That's the only deal. All right, whatever. So I'm going to call on to him, and I'm going to counterblast 1. I'm going to draw 2 cards, really allowing us to survive a little more. Wow, double front. Kind of sucks, but it's also really, really good shield value in our hand. I don't think we're going to die at all. So another plus 5 onto here. Let us then... Sorry if you hear that siren outside. It's just by a firehouse over here. So we're going to swing over here, going to counterblast 1. Another 10k, another 10k. So this is a 33k. Attack 1 and 2. Alright, no triggers there, but still have decent columns overall because of the Persona Ride. 25, this is going to be 35k base because of the Persona plus the 10k from Nirvana plus an 8 over here. So this is going to be 43, which is actually a decent number. Really not a bad number at all. And this is again 23, this is 43k attack. Just argument's sake again, so they let it hit, boom, stand it, swing again. So really, really nice overall. Again, I think the Valiente just gives you a little bit more pressure than some other cards. It's not 100% necessary, but if your hand state is in the right place, if you think the game state is just playing out the way that you think is just beneficial, like you can pop that down and it could make a solid little column. So yeah, next turn I would even, you know, overdress it again, making it even more powerful. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys do have any questions, any comments down below, definitely let me know. Let me know what you would change in the deck, if any, you know, variances, whatever the case may be. And this is Alex from Team Generations signing out.